Ken Trahan along with Lenny Vangilder. It's our first NBC Bank Weekend Review, brought to you by First NBC Bank with 32 locations throughout the greater New Orleans area and beyond. That's First NBC Bank, proud sponsor of SportsNola.com. Well, the World Cup continuing, of course, and teams getting knocked out. A thrilling win for the Netherlands over Mexico. Tough loss for the Mexican side after they led most of the match. Of course, the United States swings back into action in the knockout round against Belgium, the favorite in that match, which is Tuesday. And obviously, Lenny, this is an uphill climb for the U.S., and maybe, you never know, maybe we'll see Josie Altidore.
Yeah, perhaps we will, but you know, I think this is key in terms of just perspective on how the United States as a country, not the team, the United States as a country views soccer. I think you've done something that you're advancing out of the group stage for the second straight World Cup, which hasn't been done before. But now it's all about, can you win a match to get to the quarterfinals, show some kind of progress in that regard. And I think how this country views soccer, is it going to be something that is, looked upon more than like an Olympic sport, like a figure skating or a gymnastics, that when it comes Olympic time that you pay attention to it? Is it going to be that, or is it going to be something more than that? And I think, without trying to overstate it, I think Tuesday's match will dictate how this is viewed for the next 4 years.
Raising the profile, as it were.
Exactly. And, look, you look at the ratings. People are paying attention, not just to the U.S., but to this tournament as a whole. And it's really been, some compelling drama that's played out here. You mentioned the Netherlands-Mexico match. I almost liken the way that one ended with that, the penalty kick in stoppage time to a pass interference call in the end zone on the last play of the game or something like that. Do you make a call like that in that situation? Some will tell you, hey, it was a foul. Some will tell you, you let them play on in that situation. Who knows? But a foul is a foul, right? So the Netherlands moves on. Costa Rica, a thrilling win. Brazil with a thrilling win. The host country, man, what would that have been like if Brazil lost in the first game of the knockout round in their home on their home turf? That would have been quite a come down for those people.
Certainly would have been, and of course full coverage at SportsNola.com. Baseball, the Zephyrs have lost 3 straight. They started off in Nashville pretty well, but then lost the last 3. They still have a half-game lead in their division as a result, but everybody's in this race, and it's going to be a wild race the rest of the way, and they're finished with Nashville. I guess that's the good news because the Sounds were playing well.
Yeah, that is good news, but now you've got Round Rock coming to New Orleans Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Round Rock's just a game out, and they're in third place. When tonight they could be tied for first place, depending on what Nashville does, I guess. But all 4 teams in the division separated by just 4 games. And you got Round Rock and Memphis here for the better part of the next 2 weeks leading up to the All-Star break. And that will probably dictate where the Zephyrs are as you head into the All-Star break. And it's not really, keep in mind, minor league baseball, as in the big leagues, the All-Star break is kind of viewed as the midway point. We're well beyond that, in that really it just sets up for the stretch run because the minor league season ends on Labor Day.
And, of course, the other big news from the Zephyrs of this past week, the fact that they extended their agreement with the Miami Marlins through 2016. Lenny, there'd been a little bit of conjecture about the franchise relocating and wondering about the future of baseball here. That was never a major issue. It was something that was mentioned in passing by the Astros owner, never really gained any footing or traction, and now the team is solidified here with the Marlins, whose minor league system is improved through 2016.
Yeah, the thing to remember when you're talking about teams relocating on the minor league level, someone owns the team. A major league franchise can't just decide to move a team out of a city. And I know that was a lot of misconception last year when some of the rumors were out there that Jim Crane, the owner of the Astros, was trying to get trying to buy the team and perhaps trying to buy the Zephyrs or another AAA team and move them to the Houston suburbs. Well, that has all seemed to settle itself out now that Reed Ryan is part of the Astros organization, and that's not going to happen. This team is not going anywhere, and I think, at least going forward, based on what we're seeing this year, that being a part of the Marlins organization, which has some solid young players, is a good place to be and gives you a chance to win for the foreseeable future.
I agree. Football, Voodoo lost their 6th straight, 62-56 last Thursday on a weeknight game, and they have basically a lot of time off because they don't play again until next Monday night at home against Pittsburgh. I guess the good news is they scored 56 points, had a chance to win, just didn't finish.
Right. That's you got to, it was certainly an improvement in that regard, but you got to be able to make plays down the stretch. And a young quarterback who's new to the arena game, getting better, but still, you got to be able to finish. It's going to be a tough task with Pittsburgh coming in, who's one of the best teams in the league.
And last but not least, speaking of football, we're still waiting on the arbitrator's ruling regarding Jimmy Graham. And there's no specification. We saw reports over the weekend that it would be sometime this week. We know July 15th is a big day, so I'm quite sure the arbitrator is going to rule sometime soon based on what the Saints are facing otherwise.
Right. We thought it might be last week, and now we're thinking it might be this week. And one of the interesting bits of information that's come out since we last visited in the update is that Sean Payton was one of the ones who was in as part of the hearing. And I can't imagine, everybody's like, oh, that can't be a good thing. But I think as much as anything else, as Sean Payton was probably going in trying to explain to the arbitrator, this is how offenses work in the NFL. We line wide receivers up tight. We line running backs up wide. We move people all over the place. People make personnel decisions on defense once they see what you're doing on offense based on the players that you have in the huddle, the 11 men you have in the huddle, the 5 other skill guys. And that's what we're using to try to create mismatches. If we can go stick Jimmy Graham out wide, that might create a mismatch for us. It's not that we're suddenly making him a wide receiver. It's just where we're putting him in the formation.
And as Rick Gailey and I have discussed on our radio show, I have not discovered, nor is he in the Merriam-Webster or at dictionary.com, the definition of a tight end or the definition of a wide receiver. It's not defined. I mean, it's just a title.
Yeah. Are we getting to the point with some of these things? If I can imagine if the NFL comes out on the short side of the stick in this arbitrator's ruling, are we just going to see guys listed as offensive skill players or offensive line? We're going to have more generic terms out there for these guys. Defensive front, defensive back. There's not going to be any inside linebackers, outside linebackers, defensive ends, whatever the case may be. We're just going to go all generic out there.
Yeah, positions that are new. We'll create them for you. Let's start some names. Hybrid, multi. Come up with some other names here. I think those are pretty good.
Oh, my favorite from the recruiting world, athlete.
Athlete, there you go. Athlete. Athlete, number 25. No, just kidding. All right. Introductions. Enough of those introductions. He's Lenny, I'm Kenny. That's all you need to know. That's our First NBC Bank Weekend Review, brought to you by First NBC Bank with 32 locations throughout the greater New Orleans area and beyond. That's First NBC Bank, proud sponsor of SportsNola.com. For Lenny, I'm Kenny. Have yourselves a great day and a great week for that matter, and God bless.